Stop what you're doing for 10 seconds and scan your body right now, because there is a message trying to reach you in the only language the universe trusts: feeling. Not the loud feeling that shouts when you're stressed or scrolling or second-guessing, but the small pressure change behind your sternum, the micro tilt of your attention toward a door you hadn't noticed, the sudden clear yes that appears before your mind has time to debate. Think back to one moment in your life where you made a choice you couldn't explain, and it turned out to be exactly right. You said yes to the coffee meeting that changed your career. You took a different route and avoided the pileup. You paused before sending the angry text and everything softened. That wasn't luck. That was your system catching a signal early. We're taught to worship the spreadsheet, the plan, the pros and cons, but plans are maps of yesterday. Intuition is a live transmission. It arrives as a whisper because it slips past your mental firewalls. It prefers the side door, not because it's weak, but because it's fast. It doesn't need to convince you, it invites you. And if you accept even once, you begin to notice how the invitations cluster. They show up as timing that makes no sense until later, as a gut drop that pulls your hand away from a handshake, as a lightness in your chest when you picture one option and a subtle constriction when you picture the other. The trick is that the signal rarely offers a paragraph of reasons. It offers a single, undeniable tone. The more you honor that tone, the more detailed it becomes. You start recognizing its variations, the clear yes that feels like exhale, the protective no that feels like a seatbelt locking, the not yet that feels like a soft palm on your shoulder holding you back for just a beat. People think intuition competes with logic, but watch what happens when they collaborate. Logic is the engineer that builds the bridge. Intuition is the scout that chooses which river to cross. When you let the scout go first, the engineer wastes no time. When you ignore the scout, you build gorgeous bridges to the wrong shore. Start testing this in tiny ways. Ask yourself before opening your inbox, what one email wants my energy first? Listen for the body shift and follow it. At the grocery store, notice which produce you reach for without thinking. With a decision on your desk, speak option A, feel your body, then speak option B, feel again. You'll begin to map your own signals. For some, truth feels warm. For others, truth feels cool and steady. For some, misalignment is a flutter in the stomach. For others, it's a fog behind the eyes. There is no universal dictionary, only honest calibration. And every time you choose in favor of that calibration, you thicken the pathway. Your system learns, when I send this signal, they listen. The volume raises a notch. Synchronicities start popping like breadcrumbs across your day. You experience fewer near misses and more clean connections, not because you forced anything, but because you finally tuned the dial. This is the quiet revolution of your life, not doing more, but perceiving sooner. Not pushing harder, but selecting better. The old paradigm says success comes from hustle. The new paradigm says direction beats speed, and intuition is your true north. We've been told reality is a straight road, first cause, then effect. Then a tidy explanation at the end like a ribbon on a gift. But stand still for a moment and feel how time actually behaves in your experience. You remember something, your body changes now. You anticipate a meeting, your heart rate changes now. The past and future don't wait politely at the boundaries. They leak into the present through the door of attention. Intuition is the sense that notices those leaks. It feels like déjà vu before the moment happens. Like thinking of someone seconds before they message you, like choosing a seat in a room and later realizing it placed you in the exact conversation you needed. When people hear quantum, they imagine lab coats and chalkboards. But the quantum we live with every day is simpler. It's possibility humming behind appearances. Most of the time, your mind rides the surface of events while your deeper awareness is already sniffing the wind. Tracking patterns too complex to verbalize, coordinating data from memory, emotion, environment, and meaning. By the time you form a thought, the deeper part of you has already tilted you 5 degrees toward what's coming. That 5-degree tilt is everything. Over an hour, it changes who you bump into. Over a year, it changes your address book. Over a decade, it changes your destiny. This is why the smallest, earliest signals matter. The micro pause before you say yes to an obligation you don't want. The pull to read 3 pages of a book that drops a sentence that unlocks the next move. The sudden urge to step outside and breathe that saves you from sending the message you would regret. We wait for certainty, but certainty is what you feel in the rearview mirror. Intuition isn't a guarantee, it's a gradient, more like weather than law. You learn the sky, you learn the smell of rain, you act on the forecast your bones give you. And when you do, something strange happens. The world seems to organize around your choices as if your decision echoed backward and forward, creating pockets of support you couldn't have planned. The meeting reschedules itself into your ideal slot. The person you needed sits beside you by chance. The path that looked blocked yesterday swings open without effort. Skeptics call this selective attention. Maybe sometimes it is, but even if attention were the only magic, that would still be enough, because whatever you consistently attend to becomes the track your life runs on. Attention is a vote. Intuition shows you where to cast it early when the stakes are low and the leverage is high, so practice making micro bets on your earliest sense. Not reckless leaps, just precise pivots. Keep a running log for a week. First sensation, action taken, outcome noticed. You'll see a pattern. Your first read was right more often than you admit. And in the few cases it wasn't, the tuition you paid was small compared to the wisdom gained. That's the beauty of acting early. Errors are inexpensive, and insights are immediate. Over time, you'll stop asking, "Is this real?" and start asking, "How soon can I hear it?" Because beyond linear time, sooner is the superpower. The person who perceives first doesn't have to rush, they simply arrive on time to a future already turning its face toward them. Think about the moment you're twisting the dial of an old radio. At first, all you hear is chaos, bursts of static, fragments of voices, bits of melody lost in the noise. You lean in, turning slowly, because something inside you senses there's a signal beneath it. Then suddenly, the static clears, and the song comes through strong, undeniable, alive. This is the perfect metaphor for how your intuition operates. The first sensations are messy, fleeting, and easy to dismiss. A shiver up your spine, a word that sticks in your head for no reason, a sudden heaviness in your stomach when someone smiles at you. Most people label this as meaningless background noise, just static. But if you tune with patience, if you recognize the fragments, the pattern starts to emerge and the message becomes clear. Intuition is not a bolt of lightning crashing through your mind. It's more like a frequency you learn to detect, faint at first, then strong. And the more you honor the fragments, the quicker you tune into the song. The challenge is that we've been conditioned to distrust the static. From childhood, we're taught to value only what can be explained, measured, proven. So when the fragments show up, our logical mind swats them away. You get the thought to call a friend but dismiss it because you don't want to interrupt them. Hours later, you find out they were in crisis, wishing someone had reached out. You feel pulled to leave a party early, but convince yourself it's rude to go. Later, you hear about the argument or accident you avoided by stepping out. These are the fragments, the song trying to reach you. Most people change the dial too soon. They never let the signal lock in. But here's the truth. Intuition always begins in whispers. It doesn't need to prove itself up front. It needs you to listen long enough for the volume to rise. And when you treat the static as the doorway rather than the distraction, the guidance grows unmistakable. Suddenly, you're not just catching fragments, you're living inside the song. You notice how everything feels orchestrated, the timing, the connections, the way life seems to anticipate you as much as you anticipate it. The difference between living in static and living in music is the willingness to trust the first flicker. And this is where most people stumble. They want certainty, they want guarantees, they want proof before they move, but proof belongs to the past. Proof only arrives once the event has unfolded, once it's too late to use. The quantum field doesn't speak in proof, it speaks in resonance. And resonance always comes first as a feeling. Think of how you recognize a favorite song in the first 3 seconds, long before the lyrics arrive. You don't need evidence, you just know. That's resonance. Intuition operates the same way. It's the recognition of a frequency, not the collection of data. But our culture has trained us to worship complexity. We're told that big decisions require thick reports, endless meetings, step-by-step strategies. Yet the universe is not impressed by spreadsheets. It organizes itself around vibration. If your vibration is scattered, the field reflects scattered results. If your vibration is coherent, the field reorganizes reality to match. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're waiting for external confirmation, waiting for logic to bless what the heart already knows. But by the time logic approves, the window has closed, the job is taken, the opportunity has passed, the connection has dissolved. Intuition had already whispered the answer, but because it didn't come with a guarantee, it was ignored. The irony is that hindsight always proves it right. People look back and say, "I knew it. I felt it. I should have trusted it." How many times have you had that conversation with yourself? The evidence arrives too late to change the choice. And so the cycle repeats: doubt, ignore, regret. The only way to break that cycle is to understand that intuition is not in the business of convincing you. It will never argue. It will never shout. It offers resonance, not logic. And resonance feels simple, too simple for the mind to trust. But simplicity is the signature of truth. Complexity is the camouflage of fear. If you want to align with the field, you must learn to choose simplicity. That means trusting the first yes even when it has no backup. Trusting the first no even when everyone else is cheering. Trusting the pause even when you can't explain why. And the more you do this, the more you realize proof was never the point. The point is alignment. When you honor resonance, life begins to rearrange itself around your signal. Doors open that should have been locked. People appear you couldn't have planned to meet. Opportunities organize themselves like constellations in your night sky. Not because you forced anything, but because you finally stopped demanding the universe speak your language of guarantees, and you started listening to its language of feeling. That is the moment the static becomes music, the fragments become song, and your life begins to unfold as a composition rather than a struggle. The question is not whether the signal is real, it always is. The question is whether you'll trust it without waiting for proof. Because in the quantum, proof is always late, but resonance is always on time. Your body is not just a container carrying you through life. It is a living antenna tuned into frequencies that extend far beyond what your eyes can see. Every nerve ending, every heartbeat, every pulse of breath is part of a biological system designed not only to sense the world, but to broadcast into it. Most people think the brain is in charge. That thought comes first, and everything else follows. But science is showing us that the nervous system, and especially the heart, play a far greater role in decoding the invisible signals of reality. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that radiates several feet outside your body, and this field shifts instantly with your emotional state. When you are fearful or stressed, your heart's rhythm becomes jagged and incoherent, sending a distorted signal both inward to your brain and outward into the field around you. In this state, intuition feels fuzzy or muted, as if you're trying to tune into a radio station through static. But when you breathe slowly, when you allow your body to soften and enter a state of safety, your heart rhythm becomes ordered, coherent, harmonious. The field you broadcast steadies, and suddenly your inner signals become clear, strong, and precise. This is why intuitive moments so often happen when you are relaxed, taking a walk in nature, resting in silence, or simply breathing deeply. Your antenna is clear, your broadcast is stable, and the quantum field can reflect information back to you without distortion. Think of it like Wi-Fi. When your nervous system is overloaded, the signal drops, connections are weak, messages are scrambled, but when your body enters coherence, it's like upgrading to fiber optics. Suddenly the download speed of insight is immediate. You know without knowing how you know. You sense without needing evidence. And the more you train your body to return to coherence, the more reliable your intuition becomes. Every deep breath you take, every time you shift your attention from frantic thoughts to the steady beat of your heart, you are tuning the antenna. And once tuned, the body doesn't just receive clearer signals, it transmits. Other people can feel it when you are coherent. They lean in without knowing why. They trust you without explanation. Your field interacts with theirs, creating subtle but undeniable resonance. You stop being just an individual and become part of a larger symphony, influencing and being influenced at the same time. And this brings us to one of the most magical confirmations of coherence: synchronicity. Have you ever noticed how when you are calm, aligned and in flow, life begins to organize itself around you in ways that feel impossible to explain? You think of someone and they text you within minutes. You're considering a new direction and suddenly stumble upon the exact book, article, or mentor you needed. You take a small step forward and the path seems to clear, as if the world was waiting for you to move. These are not accidents. They are not random coincidences. They are feedback from the field. Synchronicities are the universe's way of mirroring back the stability and clarity of your broadcast. When your nervous system is balanced and your heart and mind are in alignment, your electromagnetic field resonates with order. And in physics, ordered systems naturally find and resonate with other ordered systems. That's why opportunities click into place, why timing feels orchestrated, why everything seems to unfold at the right moment. Synchronicity is the proof your mind keeps demanding, but it comes after you trust the signal, not before. The irony is that most people dismiss synchronicities as mere chance, not realizing they are glimpses of a deeper communication. Imagine you are learning a new language. At first, you barely recognize the words. Then someone speaks a phrase you understand and it lights you up. That is what synchronicity is, an early phrase in the dialogue between you and the quantum. The more attention you give it, the more fluent you become. The more fluent you become, the more complex the conversations. Soon, life itself begins to talk to you in synchronicities, weaving events together in ways that seem impossible to plan. But here's the catch: doubt can shut it down. The moment you tell yourself it's just coincidence, the moment you demand hard proof, you shift out of resonance. The antenna starts to wobble, the broadcast becomes incoherent, and the feedback loop fades. The key is to treat synchronicities as dialogue, not decoration. Keep a journal, note the repeating numbers, the chance encounters, the perfectly timed events. Track them not as curiosities, but as messages. When you do, you train your nervous system to expect coherence, and expectation itself is a frequency that invites more coherence. Synchronicity then becomes less about surprise and more about confirmation. It's the universe saying, "Yes, I heard you. Yes, you're aligned. Yes, keep going." The more you respond with trust instead of doubt, the stronger the conversation becomes. Eventually, synchronicity stops being an occasional wink and becomes the background music of your life. Every day feels like a dance with an intelligence that is both within you and around you, and this is the secret most people miss. Synchronicity is not a gift reserved for the lucky few. It is feedback anyone can access when they learn to regulate their nervous system, tune their heart into coherence, and trust the whispers that arrive before proof. When you do this, life stops feeling like random events strung together and starts feeling like a carefully composed song, one that you are not just listening to, but actively co-creating. There comes a moment in every journey where the signs that once felt abundant begin to fade. The repeating numbers vanish from your clock. The perfectly timed encounters no longer seem to happen, and the synchronicities that once filled you with awe appear to stop altogether. This is the moment that unnerves most people. They panic and wonder if they lost their connection, if they somehow fell out of alignment, if the universe turned its back and went silent. But silence is not abandonment. Silence is initiation. It is the pause in music that makes the next note powerful, the stillness before the storm that gathers its strength, the darkness where seeds gestate before breaking through the soil. When synchronicity fades, it means your frequency has stabilized enough that constant reassurance is no longer necessary. The training wheels are off, and the field is asking, can you walk without leaning on signs? Can you trust without daily proof? Can you embody the vibration without craving constant reminders? This is one of the hardest lessons because the human mind is addicted to confirmation. It craves validation at every step, needing the universe to pat it on the back and say, yes, you're on track. But the field doesn't work like a parent spoon-feeding encouragement. It works like a mirror, reflecting your state back to you. And when you've reached a level of stability, the mirror doesn't need to keep shouting. It simply holds the image steady. That is what the silence is. The field holding steady, waiting for you to trust that you're already aligned. If you misinterpret the silence, you fall into fear, thinking something's wrong. And in that fear, you broadcast static again. The mirror then reflects the static, and it feels like your magic has disappeared. But if you embrace the silence as evidence that the signal has settled, you hold the vibration longer, and that holding is what prepares the next quantum leap. Think of it like climbing a staircase. At first, you need a handrail, constant touch, constant reassurance, but at some point, you've learned balance, and you walk freely. The universe wants to see if you've learned to balance on your own. That's the graduation moment. The silence is not absence, it is trust building. And those who can stand firm in silence are the ones who later experience the most dramatic breakthroughs. The giant synchronicities that shift entire lifetimes rather than small daily nudges. This understanding leads into something even deeper, something most people never realize about their intuition. Intuition is not just predicting what will happen, it is participating in creating what will happen. When you study the double-slit experiment in quantum physics, particles behave differently when observed. Awareness changes the outcome, but observation doesn't begin with thought. It begins with attention aligning with possibility before thought even forms. That moment of alignment, that inner yes, that subtle nudge, that unexplained pull, is not just sensing the future, it is collapsing the future into form. Intuition is pre-observation awareness, the signal of your consciousness syncing with a probability that is about to become reality. This means your intuition isn't passive. It's not a guess about what's ahead. It's an active ingredient in shaping what's ahead. Every time you follow a whisper, every time you honor the first flicker of resonance, you're not just predicting, you're sculpting. The reason this feels so strange is because we've been taught that creation is about effort, planning, and execution. You want something, you work for it, you grind until it manifests. But the quantum field doesn't respond to force, it responds to frequency. Your nervous system is broadcasting constantly, and the field is arranging reality in response. When you ignore intuition, you broadcast doubt and contradiction, and the field organizes chaos around you. When you trust intuition, you broadcast coherence, and the field organizes clarity around you. This is why aligned people seem lucky. It's not luck, it's physics. They're broadcasting signals the field cannot ignore. The more you recognize this, the more you see how important it is to trust the pre-logical signals. Because every time you hesitate, every time you demand proof, every time you override your gut in favor of data, you're delaying the collapse of the reality you actually want. You're telling the field, I don't trust this timeline yet. And the field, being a mirror, delays it as well. But when you honor the whisper immediately, you collapse the probability wave right then and there. You step into a future that feels fated, but in truth, you authored it with your resonance. Intuition, then, is not superstition. It's the language of creation. It's how you converse with the invisible architecture of the universe. And the most liberating truth of all is this: you don't need to master some complicated ritual to make it work. You only need to remember that you are already participating, whether you're conscious of it or not. So ask yourself, what realities are you collapsing every day by trusting or by ignoring the whisper? How many opportunities have already been calling your name, waiting for you to step in? And how many timelines have dissolved into silence because you doubted the very signals designed to guide you? The quantum field is never not speaking. It is humming with probabilities, waiting for your signal to choose. Intuition is the translator, the bridge, the compass. And once you realize it doesn't just predict your life, but actively shapes it, you stop treating it like a fragile feeling and start treating it like the most powerful technology you've ever been given. At first, intuition feels like something outside of you, as though there is a guide whispering from the shadows, a voice you strain to catch but cannot fully prove. You treat it like an external signal, something you either manage to intercept or miss altogether. But the deeper you go, the more you begin to realize that you are not just the receiver of the signal, you are the signal. The field isn't sending you clues from some faraway dimension, it is reflecting the state of your own being back at you. When your nervous system is chaotic, the reflections look chaotic. When your mind is scattered, the signs appear scattered. But when your body, your emotions, and your thoughts align into coherence, something shifts. You notice that people begin to respond to you differently, not because you've changed your words, but because your entire presence is broadcasting a frequency they can feel. Your field is ordered, stable, magnetic. Suddenly, you're not chasing synchronicities, they begin chasing you. You walk into a room and the right people approach you. You think about a problem and the solution arrives almost instantly. You set an intention and the environment reshapes itself to meet you halfway. This isn't imagination. Science has measured the electromagnetic field of the heart extending several feet beyond the body, influencing not only your own biology, but the coherence of those around you. This means your intuition, your resonance, your alignment are not private, they are participatory. You become part of a living network, a transmitter within the quantum web. And when you grasp this, you stop asking if the universe is hearing you, because you know the universe cannot not hear you. You are its expression, you are its broadcast, you are the signal itself. And here is where everything you've learned converges into a simple but life-altering truth. Manifestation, alignment, synchronicity, they were never about waiting for signs to appear. They were about becoming the sign. You don't need repeating numbers on a clock to tell you that you're in resonance when your entire state of being is resonance. You don't need a chance encounter to confirm you're on the right path when you feel your entire body humming with coherence as you take each step. You don't need proof from the outside because the proof lives in the steadiness you feel on the inside. The paradox is that when you no longer need signs, they appear in abundance. Not as reassurance, but as natural outgrowths of your vibration. Life begins to feel less like a series of surprises and more like the only possible outcome. The job offer that lands in your inbox, the partner who shows up at exactly the right time, the opportunity that seems tailored just for you, these don't feel like miracles anymore. They feel like the inevitable reflections of a frequency you have chosen to embody. This is the graduation point, the moment where you stop playing small by waiting for external confirmation and step fully into creative sovereignty. You stop asking, "Will the universe deliver what I want?" and start declaring, "I am broadcasting the state of already having it." And because the field responds to resonance, not requests, it cannot resist. It organizes matter, events, people, and timing around the vibration you hold. This is why mystics throughout history emphasized living from the end, embodying the feeling of the wish fulfilled, walking as if it is already real. It is not positive thinking, it is not fantasy, it is the physics of resonance. Coherence creates resonance. Resonance collapses possibility into form, and when you live in coherence long enough, your entire life becomes one continuous unfolding of synchronicities so seamless that you no longer separate them from normal experience. That is the moment life itself becomes the miracle. So pause and breathe into this realization. You are not waiting for alignment, you are alignment. You are not waiting for signs, you are the sign. You are not asking for synchronicity. You are synchronicity in motion. Every breath you take in coherence is a broadcast. Every thought you align with emotion is a frequency. Every choice you make from intuition is a timeline collapsing into reality. This is your quantum compass, not a tool you pick up occasionally, but a way of being you can inhabit every moment. And once you inhabit it, there is no going back. You no longer doubt the whispers because you recognize them as your own voice. You no longer chase after signals because you realize you are the one sending them. And you no longer beg the universe for proof because you know your state of being is proof enough. The invitation now is simple. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop outsourcing your power to signs and confirmations. Instead, cultivate the coherence that makes you the signal. Live as the frequency of what you desire. Walk as the embodiment of your highest timeline. Speak, breathe, and move as though it is already real, because the moment you do, the field cannot help but organize itself around you. This is the final secret, the deepest truth, that the universe was never withholding anything from you. It was waiting for you to become the vibration that makes the reality undeniable. When you do, you discover that life has never been random. It has always been a mirror. And when the mirror reflects your coherence back to you, there is nothing left to chase, nothing left to doubt, only the steady unfolding of a life that feels like destiny written in real time.